In this video, we're going to be looking at DuePoint's immediate debit order functionality within your DuePoint app. This functionality allows you to control whether new wealth engineers signing into your channel are able to select a debit order date for themselves for their first debit order, or whether they must pay on the next debitable day. Wealth engineers are always able to choose their regular debit order day. But being able to control when a new wealth engineer is able to raise their first debit order, you're able to control your success with DuePoint's Achiever Quests and other rewards. Let's have a look at where you can find this functionality within the app. In order to find the immediate debit order functionality within your app, log into your app and then select the menu item at the top left-hand corner of the channel display. Within the menu item, select Preferences. Within Preferences, the last two line items will be the controls for the immediate debit order functionality. The first line item of the two controls whether wealth engineers that you're assigning onto your first point can either select a debit order date or must be debited the next debitable day. When the toggle switches are marked as blue, this means that that functionality is activated. This means that a wealth engineer, in this particular case on your first point, who signs in as new, will now not be able to select a debit order date, but will be debited the very next debitable day. If you wish to turn that off, simply select the toggle, it'll change to white, and now the wealth engineer that signs to your first point will be able to select a debit order date for themselves. If you wish to control the functionality of this throughout your channel, the second line item is the function control. The second line item allows you to dictate whether throughout your channel, that's from point 2 onwards, wealth engineers who join your channel on those points have to either be debited the next day or can select across the debit order dates. Again, if it's marked as blue like this, it means that everybody from your second point onwards will need to be debited the next debitable day. If you wish to turn that off and give them the choice of debit order days for their first debit order, then simply select the toggle switch, it'll turn white, and now everybody from your second point onwards will be able to select the debit order date for themselves. At any point in time, you can change this. You can, for instance, turn it back on for yourself. If you turn it back on for yourself, now people you signed to your first point will need to be debited the next day and will not be given the choice of debit orders. Perhaps you want to leave it off for yourself, but you want it on for your channel. That means from your second point onwards, individuals joining your channel will now need to be debited the next day and won't be given the choice of debitable dates for their first payment with the DuePoint Enterprise option. You may, however, decide that for wealth engineers you're signing to your first point, you wish them to be immediately debited. That's fine. Toggle your switch back on again, and now everyone on your first point or who is added to your first point will be debited the next day and will not be given the choice of debitable dates for their first debit order. Alternatively, you may decide that you wish to have your channel, your second point onwards, set to immediate debit orders, but your first point is people you sign given the choice of debitable dates. Simply toggle the switches in the direction you require, and you can custom your channel throughout. Remember, this only applies to DuePoint's Enterprise option. Product selections will allow the wealth engineer always to choose a debit order date. It also only applies to the first debit order. Every wealth engineer, whether selecting the Enterprise option or product, will always be able to select what date they want their debit order to regularly recur. You can, of course, change these preferences at any time. As an individual wealth engineer, you may also choose how you want your channel to behave despite what your lead wealth engineer has selected. Simply go into your preferences and set them as you desire.